he said, Avan nanillai, Avan nanillai. I am not the same man that he is describing. I am not the same man that is. So today I was feeling like saying, Avan nanillai. You know. So anyway, come to the realities today. Madam, Somaya family members, the trustees, and General Singh Saab, because I respect the soldiers. Because of them we can sleep comfortably at home. Otherwise Pakistan would come to our house straight. So thank you very much for being here and being on the trust and guide them very correctly. My wonderful students whom I love and respect, their teachers, because institutions are not built with brick and mortar and buildings and laboratories. No, they're built with men and women who love to teach and produce very good brains for the future. Now, coming back to the subject today, it's about education. Education is the backbone of every country. You know, when the British wanted to come here, what they planned in the first place is to break the Indian education system, which is our backbone. The Indian education system completely disappeared after that. And they succeeded in their efforts to bring what is called the 18th century English education here. And today, the sophisticated parents, they want to send their children to English education. You know what that 18th century English education is? It came when Britain was having industries coming up. So they wanted some robots who can't think, who should not ask questions, but simply follow what is told. That is the education that we have. That's why Alexis Carrel, a Nobel laureate, once said, every newborn child is a genius, only to be converted into an idiot in school. And I agree with him totally about the Western education, because they make you a robo in the school. See, if you go to school, everybody must be alike. So they try to sort of make you a robo. A for apple. Everybody should say the apple. Supposing you ask a child A for, he will probably say so many things. But it stopped. He should from then on think of only apple, apple, apple. That's called education. No, that's not education. That is just literacy. Most of us are literate, but not educated. And education is to make a human being out of a man or a woman out of a human being. And that is training the mind. Where is the mind? Where is the mind? Here we have a president who is now the head of the mind business. Mind is not in the brain as we in the medical science used to think. Mind is your consciousness. Mind is everywhere. Mind is universal and you are a part of that, your individual consciousness. And this mind is the consciousness of man, and that has to be developed. So I always say education must not just be for a wealthy career. Today, you know, I was lecturing in a IIT. I won't tell you which IIT is, one of the IITs. And the director told me, sir, ours is the best IIT in India. I said, on what criterion? He says, our last year's graduates got jobs abroad for 6 to 7 crores a year. I said, if that is your criterion, I am afraid I don't respect your IIT. How many good human beings have you produced? You know, have you heard of a man called Manjunath, an IIT graduate, who did not want to go to America but wanted to join here? So he joined the oil company here, Indian Oil Company, and found out that a lot of adulteration was going on. So he went to inspect every bunk and found out a lot of adulteration going on in their bunk, and he was shot dead there. This is the kind of people we want. So what we should do in education is to develop the mind, not just a wealthy career. But today our aim is only to make a career. You ask a parent when the child is going to school, what do you want? I want him to be a doctor. I want him to be an engineer. To earn money, get a big position in society. But nobody says, I want him to be a human being. So my aim of education should be in the future to make a healthy mind. What is a healthy mind? A healthy mind is a mind filled with enthusiasm to work. How many of us really have enthusiasm to work? Tell me. I don't think even 1% of Indians have enthusiasm to work. What is enthusiasm to work? You must have that provocation to work. Enthusiasm is a very nice word in Latin. En means inside. Theos is God. So God sits inside and provokes you. Prachodayat, that's what the young lady so beautifully sang. Prachodayat, we get up in the morning and say, Prachodayat, give me provocation to you, make me a good human being. And that is called education. So unfortunately we don't do that. We should be aiming at making a healthy mind. And the other important part of healthy mind is an enthusiasm to be compassionate. See, if all of us are compassionate, where there is a problem in the society? No conflict, no fights, no terrorism, none of those things will be there. And we don't even need an army. Today, every country spends so much money on its army because without the army, the country will be wiped off. So all that is because we don't have compassion. And two things that a healthy mind should have is enthusiasm to work and enthusiasm to be compassionate. And that is the aim of life should be. Actually, they were trying to find out what is life, what is health, etc., etc. And you must have heard about risk factors, high blood pressure, fat, cholesterol, and sugar and all. None of those things matter. In a long study of 75 years observation of the Harvard alumni of the 1930s, the sophomores of the 1930s, till to date, they found a lot of them have died. It's 90 years now. Few of them are. But what came out of the study was very important thing which India knew for thousands of years ago in Ayurveda. Aptopasevi bhavet arogyam. If you love everyone in this world, you will be healthy and living long. And that's what Ayurveda says. Aptopasevi bhavet arogyam. And that's exactly what this study showed. Study showed three things. A, drinking alcohol is your enemy number one. 2, smoking cigarette is your enemy 2. And what's your friend? Compassion. Love everyone. And the more number of friends you have, more number of people you like, more number of family members you like, and more number of people in the society you like and want to be compassionate, you will live long and healthy life. That's exactly what Ayurveda has been saying for 5,000 years. Aptopasevi bhavet arogyam. So friends, just develop a mind with compassion, develop a mind with enthusiasm to work, and working is very important because that's another very important feature for good health. Samikshakari says Ayurveda. Samikshakaris work very hard. I have not seen anybody dying of hard work. Though of course people say don't work very hard, you get tired and things like that. Your own parents will say get tired and things like that. As a matter of fact, the whole science of stress started with a young boy in Canada. He was about 17 years old. He wanted to read the whole day and night. So his old grandmother said, don't read too much, you will become mad. So this boy said, I love to read, and why is my grandmother saying that? So he said, what is stress? So he started in 1936, he wrote a letter to the scientists in America, what is stress? And he didn't get a reply. By 1956, he produced a huge data on stress, and he wrote an encyclopedia of stress called, his name was Hans Selye. You have the book called Encyclopedia of Stress by Hans Selye. Don't read that, it's too much for you. But read a smaller book he has written for you, Stress and Distress. Stress is an integral part of life. If you don't have stress, you would wither away and die in no time. Supposing you say, I don't want any stress, I want to sit in the Himalayas and meditate, you will not be there after 1 week. Stress is a must. Stress is a part of life. But distress is bad. Distress is bending abnormally against stress. This is what most of us do. You know, you get a headache in the evening. A lot of people say they get a headache in the evening. You know why? They are so tense when they're whole day. And when you are very tense in the day, your neck muscles tense up. And when the neck muscles tense up, your huge muscle that starts in the forehead goes to the neck. It's called occipitofrontalis muscle. That becomes tense. So you get headache in the evening. So if somebody comes and tells me, I have a headache, I tell them, no, you don't have a headache, you are a headache. So people say, I have a neck pain. I say, no, you are a pain in the neck. And if you are a pain in the neck, you have a headache, you have a neck pain. So if you are not a pain in the neck, nothing will happen. So what is the end of the day? You must be a very good human being. If you are a good human being, you are a good educated person. How to be a good human being? A, you must work very hard. B, you must love everyone in this world. Love is not, now younger generation should not take the word love for lust, that is the usual meaning. No. Love is compassion, C-O-M-P-A-S-S-I-O-N. You just universal compassion, you like everything. Sarva Bhuta Priti in Sanskrit. Sarva Bhuta, all life you love. So it's not just only man, animals, everyone you love. And if you did that, you will have no tension, you will not have headache, you will not have neck ache, and you will be a human being. And that should be the aim of education. Are we trying to do that? I don't think so. We are trying only to have a career for you. You must have a career at the end of the day. You must be a BA and get a teacher's job. You must be a B.Ed and get a teaching job. You must be a doctor and do what doctors do now. they shouldn't be doing what they are doing now. As Rajshekhar Pillai was reminding me that I wrote an article many times ago, that when doctors go on strike, society becomes healthier. Because we intervene too much. You know, whenever you go to a doctor, I just want to do something. So if I don't do anything, that's the American thing. Fix it, do it. Actually, if you leave it alone, every disease, mark my words, every disease, from common cold to cancer, will either cure itself or kill you. One of the two things. And doctor's intervention only hastens that, but doesn't do anything else. No doctor can take you, as the common in newspaper says, he was pulled from the jaws of death by a doctor. It's bullshit. Nobody can pull you anything from the jaws of death. If you're dying, you're going to die. And doctors can only help. And Hippocrates said, our father of modern medicine said, cure rarely, comma, comfort mostly, comma, but console always. You should be able to console. But what do we do today? The reverse. The minute you go there, it says, oh my God, you got a cancer. You may live only for 6 months. How on earth does that doctor know that you will live for 6 months? Because we doctors cannot predict the future of our patients. Nobody knows, nobody can predict the future, including the astrologers. Because the future doesn't exist in quantum physics. Tomorrow is not born. Tomorrow is yet to be born. How do you know what happens tomorrow? You don't know whether tomorrow is going to happen at all. So future predictions are not possible. There's a beautiful study in the British Medical Journal called Doctors Predicting the Unpredictable Future of Their Patients. You go to a doctor and say, doctor, I have a fever. I have a lecture in Somaya College tomorrow. It must come down tomorrow. He said, don't worry. Take these tablets 3 times a day and your fever will go. Doctor doesn't know what your fever is due to. Doctor doesn't know what the tablet does. Doctor doesn't know whether you will go to Somaya's college or not. But he'll predict it so. But that prediction itself is not based on science. It's based on hearsay. Because science can never predict. You see the weather predictions. Have you seen the weather prediction in Bombay yesterday? It's going to rain today. It's raining outside, isn't it? It won't rain. Predicting the unpredictable future is what we all do. So then the education must not just aim at a healthy, sort of wealthy career. Of course, wealthy career is a must, which will come. A wealthy career will come if you are a good human being, irrespective of where you are and what you are. Because money, you don't have to go after money. Money will come after you when you are a good human being. So you don't have to worry about that. But you must train yourself to have a healthy mind. Remember that. The mind must be trained first to be a healthy mind. And that's why I like, see, for example, I saw you are saying somewhere, knowledge is power. This is what the British said. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. Wisdom is power. Knowledge is some information. You know, you can get knowledge. Knowledge is second hand. I have so much of knowledge. Goethe said, I now know physiology, philosophy, jurisprudence, even as theology from end to end with labor skin. But here I stand, O fool, with all my lore, no wiser than before. Whether you become wiser or not is a question. Knowledge accumulates, but wisdom comes. Knowledge dwells in heads replete with thoughts of other men. He said, I have read so many books. So many people are very proud of having read so many books. I will say I have never read any books. I have thought, right from my younger days, I used to think. Anything that comes to my mind, I used to think about it, dissect it, study it, and try to understand and get something comes out of my mind. And wisdom dwells in heads attentive to their own. Knowledge and wisdom, far from being one, have nothing in common, said the poet. Because knowledge is something which comes and goes. Wisdom is something which lingers. And wisdom is your own. And that's your generation. That's why I ask students, ask questions. And I always say, if a teacher in the class cannot answer all the questions, she or he is an evolved teacher. I would love a teacher when once he or she says, I don't know. Because when you come to the stage to say, I don't know, you are a wise man. When you say, I know everything, you are an idiot. Because you know nothing. But wisdom comes and wisdom lingers. And wisdom is very important. I always say, educational institutions must have the dictum, wisdom is power, not knowledge is not power. Wisdom is power. And wisdom must be something that we must develop. And wisdom comes from your own head, your own mind, and that must be encouraged. And that's exactly the future aim of education. Now, unfortunately, what happens today? Our educational standard is so low. Our education is only for higher education. And the whole country is corrupt. You take any area. Who is not corrupt, tell me? How can you be corrupt if you had a good education? If you had a good education and you say, I must work very hard and I must be compassionate, how can you be corrupt? When once you say, I must make more money than the other person, this comparison, because it starts in the school. That's why he said, when you go to school, you become an idiot. What is that first say? Say he is first rank, second rank. What is first rank, second rank? Comparing with others. Competing with others is mediocrity. Competing with yourself is excellence. So you teach a child to compete with itself. It must be a better child tomorrow than what it is today. Not that it's better than another child. That is very bad. When the child goes home, the mother says, you're first rank, bash. The second child goes home and says, why didn't you see? Look at that Sami Somaya's child is first rank. You're second rank, you're no good. The child becomes no good after that. Never tell a child you're no good, because it's only positive thoughts must be put into the child. And then only the child will grow. So what is important is you must always encourage. I always tell in educational institutions, a child must get a medal if he or she has improved from 35% mark when he came in to 75 marks. Not 72% compared to another 76%. That's not so good. That is mediocrity. We are encouraging mediocrity in our educational system. We should encourage excellence. Make every child compete with itself. And once you compete with yourself, no negative thoughts. When I compete with others, now a lot of negative thoughts. All the negative thoughts enter once you go to school. Till that time, the child was very, very happy. And as a matter of fact, you can make out from a child's heart. Child's heart is very, very healthy. It takes breaths. When the child breathes in, the heart goes fast. When the child breathes out, it goes slow. This is called heart rate variability. In other words, the heart rate is connected to the mind. When the child breathes in, heart goes faster. When the child breathes out, heart goes slower. As you grow older and start getting all the negative thoughts and start hating people, etc., then this variability goes. And you reach a stage where the heart is never variable. It's the same when you breathe in or breathe out. Your death is very close. So you are becoming more and more of a inhuman human being as you grow. Education must make you a human being, not inhuman human being. And we have to change our education system in such a way that we should see that educational system itself inculcates self-competition, competition with oneself. Supposing I compete with myself and try to be a better human being tomorrow than what I am today, who do I hate? I don't have to hate nobody. So that's where healthy mind comes, and healthy mind comes with self-competition. Without competition, you will die. You must have competition, but not competing with others. Trying to say, I am a best teacher in the college. No, I am a better teacher today than what I was yesterday. That should be the ideal way to look at. And that's called making a healthy mind. And this is why I always say, education must aim at making a healthy mind, not just a wealthy career. And this is the idea of talking to you today, because I thought you're all educationists, either teachers or educational institution owners. And today, of course, education is one who amasses wealth by the bad means and then starts an educational institution. He's called an educationist. And immediately he gets an honorary doctorate and he calls himself a doctor. And this honorary doctorate doesn't mean anything. Today I'm told you can buy an honorary doctorate also by paying money to some universities. Not all. Some governors are looking for money so that they have so many universities under them. They'll say, you give me 2 crores, I'll get you an honorary doctorate from A university or B university. Because recently one of the vice chancellors of Mangalore University, who was an old student of mine, called me and said, sir, I am having trouble, sir. I said, what? Our governor has taken money from some really bad people and wants me to give them an honorary doctorate. And I am troubled. I said, get lost. Leave your job and go. Why do you want to hang on there? You know, if you want to hang on to the system like that, you have to be a part of it. If you don't want, you get out. The best way is to get out and get going. And this is unfortunate. And this is where education has come to. In short, education has come to making money. Either making money or trying to make money for others. Some of you may not be corrupt, but you make others corrupt under your tutelage. So all that should stop when a mind develops into a higher level. And when the mind develops into a higher level, you become a human being. And that's where our educational system was. Our Gurukula system of education was such that they never used to compare 2 students. They used to compete with yourself. Our teachers used to make us compete with ourselves. I still remember the days when we were students. When I was a student about nearly half a century ago, or little over that, our teachers never said you become the first rank. They said, you improve tomorrow from today. And I still remember my headmaster calling me and saying, okay, you are now but much better than what you were. And I appreciate that. Because I was not good in mathematics. And that's why I became a doctor. If I were very good in mathematics, I would have become an engineer. But my headmaster said, no, now you are good in mathematics, you can become an engineer also. But I had made up my mind to become a doctor, so I just became a doctor. I think I had chosen the wrong profession. And when my son came up and said, Daddy, I don't want to be a doctor like you, I said, fine. So he became an engineer. I appreciate that. And never impose your will on your children. This is another thing that we do in education. The father wants the son to be a doctor, so he sends him to the medical school. I have written an article, if you want to, it's in the internet, you read. Want to be a doctor, comma, think before you jump. Because if you are not having an aptitude to be a doctor, you are unfit to be a doctor and a danger to society if you are a doctor. First, find out if you are a doctor. I suggest students who want to be doctors to work as an ayah or a ward boy in a hospital after your PUC for about 2 weeks and see how people suffer. Because a lot of students come and tell you, sir, this is a very interesting case for clinics. What is interesting? He's a 16-year-old boy of the age of the student himself, having 4 valve disease in the heart and imminent, he's dying in another few months' time. And he's interesting for this fellow. And that's the unfortunate thing that we have in our educational system. I say, no, he's an unfortunate human being. You have little empathy, you put yourself in his bed and think for yourself. Your future is just a few months. And then you are here for the benefit of the students, and the students come and tap you morning to evening. You know, we doctors have become so inhuman now. We don't even bother, because I lost an army officer next door to me. I still remember that, just 2 weeks ago. This man was walking on the road. 3 students in one bike without any license. They came from the wrong side, hit him, and he fell down. And when he fell down, he hit the head. So he became unconscious. So immediately transported to an ICU of an intensive care unit of a very big 5-star hospital. Per day, they were spending about 50,000 to 1 lakh of rupees. But this man had injured his chest in the bargain. When he fell down, his chest got injured. The ribs went in and fractured the lung, and the lung was collapsed. But nobody examined him. They just said he's unconscious, so take a CAT scan, dog scan, and a PET scan, and all kinds of scans were taken. And they went on treating his head injury, but never even bothered to examine him and touch his chest. And this man died. And on postmortem, we found the death was due to the chest injury and not due to the head injury. This is very unfortunate. But then, this is what we do. I always say, now you go to a doctor today, nobody examines you. They simply write tests. By the time you say head, all the head scans are written. By say chest, all the chest things are written. And this is where the problem comes. A very prominent doctor, very senior doctor in Madras wanted to see me one day. He called me and said, sir, I want to consult you. I said, okay, come along. So he came with a big file, thick file. He said, sir, I went to Singapore General Hospital and this is my file. So treat me. I said, if I read that file and treat you, I'll have to treat you what they treated you with. I want to examine you. Sir, you want to examine me? Nobody has examined me, he said. I said, no, I want to examine you, because I was taught when I was a student that you must first clinically examine a patient, come to a conclusion, and do 1 or 2 tests to either refute it or confirm it. So he reluctantly removed his shirt and lied down on the table. Then I went and examined him for about half an hour and came to some conclusion which was different from what that file had shown. He got better. He was on 28 tablets. I gave him only 2 tablets. And he went home and told his wife, that man examined me like a 3rd-year medical student. She was also a doctor. She said, and that's the right way to do it. And that's how it happens. So today we have lost that being a doctor is being compassionate. And being a doctor, a lot of people have a fight whether you should take English medicine or Ayurvedic medicine. There's no caste system in medicine. There's nothing called English medicine or Ayurvedic medicine. They're all medicines. That's all. They all come from the same source, either from vegetables or from animals. And they are all same. They are refined. A little more refined in the Western medicine, a little more crude in the Eastern medicine. That's all the difference. Like, for example, I still remember when I was a student, for the heart failure, we used to use the leaves of Digitalis lanata, a plant. And we used to have powder lanata, and we used to give it crude, but large dose, small dose is all right. Today we have a refined digoxin tablet in the Western. A little extra dose, the man may die. A little less dose, it's not effective. So the therapeutic and the killer dose were very close to each other. In the Western system, that's the curse of medicine. More people die because of our medicines than probably without them. Adverse drug reactions, ADR, is the commonest cause of death in the hospitals today. And you won't be surprised if you see the prescriptions, this laundry list of prescriptions. Every doctor who comes to see, because the specialist is one who knows more and more about less and less, until he comes to a stage where he knows more and more about nothing. And you see a head specialist gives head medicines. The leg specialist gives leg medicines. So total medicines will be 28. I saw one lady in Chennai the other day, mother of a very prominent family in Chennai. If I told you, you'll know who they are. Very prominent people. So the son came and said, "Sir, please, for my mother's sake, please come home and see her." I normally don't go. Anyway, I went. I saw this lady in a large air-conditioned room where the windows are not opened for donkey's years. And she is sitting there, and the room was like Himalaya, so cold. And she was sitting in a large bed, never seen outside. And she was taking about 28 tablets. So I examined her and told the son, first thing is put all the tablets into the waste paper basket. Then I said, open all the windows and put her outside in the sun for 1 hour. You will be surprised. The lady who was not able to get out of bed is now able to walk to the music academy in Chennai. And she is very happy with only just 1 or 2 tablets. But sunlight is the best medicine. And probably what is important is water is the next medicine. And there is a nice saying, a lot of people say, Vaidyo Narayana Hari, doctor is God. Nobody said that. Do you know what it said? Sharire jarjari bhute vyadhigraste Vaidyo Narayana Hari and Toyam Jahnaviya Toyam. As when you are very seriously ill and about to die, your best doctor is God himself and the best medicine is Ganga Jal. Both are true even today. In 2018, that sloka is absolutely true. And no, Vaidyo Narayana Hari is not, you are not called God. God is the best doctor, which is true. Because, even today, I always say, you pray to God even if you go to a best doctor, because without praying to God, the doctor will send you to heaven or hell without knowing where to send you. And I always console my patients, don't worry. The people are terribly worried about, dying. So I console them. Why worry? Death you must know. Everybody has to die. That's why you're aiming at dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Of course, now if you go into Advaita, you can get moksha in this life itself. What's called Jivan Mukti. But if you don't, you die and go to moksha. And where do you go? Either you go to hell or heaven. Well, you are a good man. Your account is very good, so you must go to heaven. So if you go to heaven, that's where you wanted to go all your life. So you're happy. Perchance, God has not kept the account book correctly and you go to hell. So what? So many of your friends are there. You are happy there. So in either case, you are happy. So you are happy, why worry? So not worry. And not worrying is one of the ways of getting your diseases cured. So you keep quiet when you have a disease and the disease will go. And if it doesn't go, then you see a doctor. Don't see the doctor on the first day itself. That's a dangerous thing to do. Take your time, relax and see if the disease can go. And once you relax, you will be surprised to see most diseases disappear, simply disappear. So it is the tension that goes with the disease that kills and not the disease itself, because many diseases don't kill. They all eventually go. So friends, education must make you understand the other man's problem, which is very difficult. That's called compassion. Compassion is trying to understand another man's problem. That's called empathizing. Sympathy all of us have. You see an accident on the road, you go, you say, my God, oh my. You are sympathizing with them, but not doing anything. But if you have empathy, if you have compassion, you just stop your car there, get out and see what you can do for that man. Or take him to the nearest hospital, which rarely people do. And that's the level of education we must try to achieve in this country. Back to our old educational system, which the British destroyed totally. And we don't want this British system of education, because the British system of education is only to give you a degree at the end of the day and get you a job. The Indian system of education is to transform you, a human being, into either a man or a woman, whoever you are. Because man is, in that true sense of the word, is a human being who is really good. A woman is another human being who is really good. So that should be the aim of education. And don't you think we should aim at that rather than just getting a degree? At the end of the day, if you get a degree and a job, what good is it? Everybody does that. As I always say, who doesn't look after the wife and children? Even the dog looks after. But as a human being, you must do something for society. And as Rajshekhar Pillai rightly said, when I do something for society, it is a rent I pay for being here. Now you see, you called me here and I am giving you a lecture. Some of you clap, some of you will go and say, what that ass was talking, I don't know what he was talking. But one thing is, you have called me here because I am somebody, you recognize me as somebody in society. It is society that has given me the status. And what do I do for society? I must do something in return. And that's why I'm here. I'm very happy I'm here because the Somaya Institutes are doing a lot of good things for education. And I hope they'll continue to do good things. And I have heard a lot from Rajshekhar Pillai about what the Somaya Institute does. Somaya Institutes take, and I am told, and this is the most important thing, they don't take even a penny as donation for any course, starting from class 1 to the highest class that you have in your. And that's something great. But I tell you, this kind of institutions are a must because in the next 50 years, Indian population will be 70% below the age of 30 years, which means 700 to 800 million young boys and girls would be wanting higher education, which government cannot provide. We must have private institutions. But what kind of private institutions? Somaya-like private institutions, not private institutions built to make money. And you must have institutions with the responsibility. And these are the institutions which the government must eventually fund because institutions cannot sustain themselves if they don't take money from the students. You may say, okay, Harvard and Stanford. What do they do in Harvard and Stanford? You think Harvard and Stanford exist because of the government funding? No. And it's because either the alumni or society funds it. And even there's so much of bad things happening. You would be surprised. A survey showed that most of these large universities, they don't really do what they ought to do. The teachers are corrupt. Teachers take money from industries, from research grants, etc., etc. So science today has become, one who gets more grant becomes a bigger scientist. His science is now tied to money. Everything is money oriented. There's a nice book written by one of my friends in Cambridge called Science Set Free. You see that book? It's a very nice book. Science Set Free. And when you see that book, you know how science is under the clutches of money. If you don't get a grant, you're not considered a scientist. If you get grant, you have to please the grant giver. So write a wrong data. Like for example, you all felt that fat is the cause of heart disease, right? And some of you don't even look at fat when you sit in the dining table. You close your eyes when you see butter. But the whole thing originated from a false study. It's a man called Ansel Keys, who was given about $100 million from the American government for finding out the disease, the relationship between fat and heart disease. So he went around. He took his wife, who was a biochemist, and between the two of them, they had a honeymoon in 22 countries and collected data. And when they went and plotted it, they found that there was no correlation between the two. So what did he do? He can't give a negative data because he has got money from the government. He has to give a positive data. So he sat at night, eliminated country by country by country by country, and was left with 7 countries. It's called Ansel Keys 7-country study. These 7 countries did not include many other countries where there are a lot of fat eating but no heart disease at all, like Norway, Sweden and all. But he included countries like USA, England, Germany and all, where people eating fat had higher heart disease, or that's what he thought. Again here, the wrong science. This is just association. When two things go up in society, the two are connected. The two are associated, but they are not causality. One is not the cause of the other. Like for example, since Second World War in Europe, affluence went up. So people ate more food, people bought more trousers, people did so many things more. But everything is connected to higher death rate since Second World War. So somebody wrote a paper saying that death rate goes up because of fat intake. Another person saw death rate goes up due to sugar intake. The third person wrote death rate goes up due to trouser buying, because if you buy more trousers, you get more heart attack. So there is only association, and association is made into causality. Causality is something different. One is not the cause of the other. One is just an association of the other. So all this kind of science creeps in because we have not had really ethics in education. We have not trained our mind to be ethical, and we never thought what are we putting down in the public domain? Is it the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth? No, it is a truth at a given time, which when B truth comes, gets replaced. So you're not giving the society the truth. The truth is almost evanescent. That's why when the truth comes, it's called naked truth. So that's how society runs. All because of one thing, the wrong educational basis. Education being just aimed at making a career and not aimed at making a healthy mind. So let's make the mind healthy. You know, as I was telling in the beginning, we don't know where the mind is. We think the mind is in the brain. A lot of people even today think the mind is in the brain. As a matter of fact, when somebody has a mental disorder, what do? We give chemicals. Where do the chemicals go? They go to an organ, only the brain, and damage the brain. So if you take chemical drugs for a mental disease, your brain gets damaged. So you get eventually dementia, which is called Alzheimer's disease. And there's a psychiatry professor in New York. She wrote a book that we, the psychiatrists, damage the brain of patients. So she wrote a book called Dementia, a drug-induced crime by doctors. This book cost her her job. So she was dismissed as a professor of psychology in the New York University Psychiatry. But she said, okay, I don't mind. And this book gets her now enough money, millions of dollars, to survive. And her name is Grace Elizabeth Jackson. Just see the book. It's a beautiful book called The Mind is the Most Important Thing, and the mind is not in the brain. And that's where the drugs that we give for patients damage our brain. And she said dementia or depression or dementia or mental depression or what's called Alzheimer's disease is a drug-induced crime on mankind by doctors. So we should be very careful. And what does a mind disease require? Another good mind. As a psychologist, I was very happy that today's president is a psychologist and counseling psychologist, because counseling psychologists can treat a lot of unhealthy minds. So I always tell people, if you have an unhealthy mind, you require another healthy mind to make you sensible. I have a granddaughter who is a PhD in counseling psychology from Berkeley University. And she does counseling of cancer children. And she is very happy because a lot of these children with cancer, because they are not counseled, they die because of the fear of disease itself. And if you counsel them, they live long. So thank you very much for doing that. And thank you very much once again for listening to me. And thank you, Rajashekharan Pillai, for inviting me here. Thank you all very, very much once again. Good night. Good luck. Goodbye.